Academy of Art University's K-Art News is next. Coming up, a change in the way we're informed about the status of terrorist alerts, and that is in the works.
In light of terrorist attacks and the economy, we'll have the story of how it's affecting people this holiday season.
If you were an online shopper on one of the biggest supermarkets, you may be getting some money back.
And how the SPCA is helping pets find new homes for the holidays, and also helping pet owners who need a break. All that and more to come on Academy of Arts K-Art News.
Hi there, thanks for joining us here at Academy of Art University's K-Art News. I'm Alex Walsh.
And I'm Jen Jomo. We start with the news of a new terrorism alert system. Homeland Security says the new system will replace the color codes that were introduced after the September 11 attacks in 2001. That setup was phased out in 2011 and was replaced by a two-tier system that critics say no longer reflects today's security situations. The changes are in response to the trend of so-called lone wolf attackers. Specifically, the references are to the incidents in Paris and Southern California, where the suspects became radicalized via the internet without belonging to a larger recognized terrorist cell.
President Obama has delivered a speech condemning the actions of two radical Islamic terrorists who shot and killed 14 people in San Bernardino. The president promised to deal with the threat of ISIS, however, was reluctant to get into another ground war in Iraq or Syria, as well as assuring that, quote, "Our success won't depend on tough talk or abandoning our values or giving in to fear." This holiday season isn't quite the same with all the things going on around in the world. Between expenses rising and recent terror attacks, it's hard to not be distracted by the bad things and get in the holiday spirit. Tyler Sabino with more on the story.
It's hard not to be happy when the holiday season is upon us. But with expenses rising in all cities and all these terroristic acts that have been occurring, it's not quite the same for everybody. California native Blake O'Donnell speaks on his thoughts.
You know, it's a difficult question to answer because obviously a lot of people are affected by the terrorist attacks as well as the high-priced, consumer goods that people want for the holidays. But personally, I'm not going to let that stop me because, even if I can't have things, spend money on the things that I want, I can still have a good time and enjoy the holidays. And as far as the terrorist attacks are concerned, the whole point of a terrorist attack is to terrorize people, make them feel uncomfortable when they should feel comfortable. And I'm not going to let it get to me. I'm not going to let the terrorists win. The shooting that happened was in San Bernardino. I'm from the Inland Empire. I live 10 miles from San Bernardino, so that affected a lot of people around me, and I'm not going to let that bring my holiday spirits down because then the terrorists are winning. So everyone, enjoy your holidays. That's all I can say.
The holiday spirit is hard to shut down, and for most people, just being with their families is more than enough. Karina Washington speaks on how this holiday season will be different for her and her family.
I think about the holiday season a little differently this year. Usually New Year's, we want to go out, go to the city, stay overnight, and have a nice dinner and count down with the mirror ball. But everything's changed this year. For one, it's too expensive to go. By the time that you have the meal and do the countdown, you're out of $1,000 these days. And the second thought I have now is that with the shooting in Southern California and San Bernardino, I'm afraid to be in a crowd this holiday season. So I think this year we're going to do everything differently. We're going to have quiet time at home.
Overall, there will be some changes this holiday season, whether you're staying in or going out into a city, but it will not take away from the holiday spirit. I'm Tyler Sabino with Academy of Art University's K-Art News.
Whatever your plans are this holiday season, it is most important to be safe and enjoy this wonderful part of the year.
For some children, Christmas is associated with joy, but for the others, it is associated with struggle. To help them out, San Francisco's businessmen come together to help provide those kids with education and, more importantly, happiness. K-Art News reporter Lada Kondragna has more on the story.
Located at Fort Mason every year for the whole December, this non-profit all-men organization called the Guardsmen makes time to sell the fresh pints for people, even though each member has a daily job that they must do the whole week. All the money that they receive goes to charity, allowing them to send over 2,500 kids to camps and provide them with high-quality education.
The Guardsmen are known for selling their famous Christmas trees, but they are also receiving their money from these handmade ornaments that are created by San Francisco artists.
One of the Guardsmen, whose name is Jordan Burbach, talked about what it's like for him to be part of such a group.
I happen to work in finance within the city, down in the financial district. So being able to come here every single year, very, very different from my normal day-to-day job. Get to put it on this jumpsuit and kind of get a hold of chainsaws and forklifts and stuff like that. So my first year was last year. I started coming around. That's not officially joining the group. If you make a decision that that's something that you want to be a part of, really the requirement is filling out an application within the group, making sure you've done enough work to be able to be a part of it, and making a commitment in terms of the number of volunteer hours that you'll do throughout the course of the year.
Once the Guardsman turns 40 years old, they are granted the title of a senior Guardsman, like John Porter, who has been a member for quite some time now.
So I've been in the group. This is coming up on my 5th year. I just turned 40 this year, so I have one more sort of year of tree lot and fundraising requirements, and then I myself will go senior.
Afterwards, it will be up to the member to decide how involved does he want to be with their organization. In San Francisco, I'm Lada Kondrahina for the Academy of Art University's K-Art News.
For more details about this organization, check out the website at guardsmen.com.
There are growing concerns over the use of drones after a close call with a highway patrol helicopter in the East Bay. The CHP said that the helicopter was flying at 700 to 800 feet when the pilot noticed the drone hovering around the same altitude and was forced to take evasive action. The incident took place as the helicopter helped search for a stolen car. The pilot of the drone was identified but has not been arrested while an investigation is underway.
Chipotle is not the only food service dealing with issues. A San Francisco federal judge ordered Safeway to pay nearly $42 million back to certain online customers. As it turns out, Safeway's online shopping prices were raised by about 10%, but online customers who registered before November 2011 were never notified of the changes. The refunds are for these customers, but eligibility and application details have not been decided yet.
While the limelight glorifies stick-thin models and celebrity weight loss, what effect does this have on our general public? I have more on the story about a young woman who looked anorexia in the face and beat it. In today's society, there is an obsession with body image. The tabloids often bully stars for either being too skinny or too fat. The pressure to be perfect often leads to very unhealthy and even deadly habits. Anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa, two very serious diseases that affect more than 30 million people in the United States. According to the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders, more than 4% of individuals with bulimia disorder will die. Even more shocking, anorexia has the highest fatality rate of any mental disease. Margaret Burton shares her incredible story of how she fought off anorexia.
Started when I was 11 years old, and then behaviors followed by the age of 12. And then throughout middle school, I was in behaviors, and then high school was when it got really bad. One night, I was just so drained. I was so tired of the eating disorder. I can't remember specifically like what happened that day. I just remember it was nighttime. I was going to bed, and I was just crying because I was so exhausted. And I had a moment of realization that, like, if I didn't ask for help in that moment, then I wasn't going to ask for help for a really, really long time. And this was kind of how it was going to be. I was put in the medical hospital twice as a teenager, and then inpatient twice as a teenager. And then as an adult, I did a whole program, inpatient, partial, intensive outpatient.
Today, a fully recovered Margaret Barnes works hands-on with Project Heal, a non-profit organization that provides grant funding for people with eating disorders who cannot afford treatment. Even Uber has recently joined the fight against eating disorders and recently helped Project Heal raise over $500,000 towards grants for those who cannot afford the treatment. In San Francisco, I'm Alex Walsh from Academy of Arts, KART News. Project Heal has helped fund hundreds of success stories and continues to raise awareness on the fight against eating disorders.
It can be scary getting into someone's car when you're unsure if it is your ride. Uber is doing a trial for a color-based ID service on only in Seattle. It is a color coding system being called Spots. The rider chooses a color from the app and the driver displays it in the windshield upon arrival. Uber hopes the new system will prevent any potential incidents.
The phrase, use it or lose it, is true when it comes to the brain. With all the technology that we have, information is getting processed differently. Tiffany Russell explains.
Smartphones are great when it comes to taking photos, finding directions, and getting instant information. But many of us have become so reliant on our smartphones, we use them to carry out a staggering 221 tasks every day. In an average week, TechMark discovered that users will pick up their phones more than 1,500 times in just 6 days. Many owners, including Stephen Holt, confesses that technology like this is affecting social activities.
I'll be hanging out with people on the bus and then seeing other people who are supposed to be hanging out on the bus are on their phones. And it's a silent bus ride, and that's like probably the weirdest thing ever. So I think 100% has affected people's way of, being social.
Now that over 90% of the population owns smartphones, it is our new way of communication in this day and age. From talking to someone across the globe or sending photos to your grandparents, it's all done with the swipe of your finger. Using the technology as a form of communication is very different for Michael and Jamal Fells, who are only one generation apart.
For me, it's harder to communicate because everybody relies on their phone or text messaging and stuff that a little more difficult for me to use.
I don't think it makes it any harder at all. I think it's, just as easy like in person or just like texting someone.
While there are many pros to having a phone with instant access to any information around the world, Stanford University research shows that it negatively affects your brain.
Nicholas Carr, the author of The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains, says that the internet and smartphones are full of information and that's why we use it. But our people skills and brain development is changing.
As we train our brains to take in information very, very quickly, in a very interrupted, distracted way, little bits of it coming at us all the time, the way we experience it online, that strengthens those parts of our brain that are good at multitasking and good at shifting our focus very, very quickly. On the other hand, we're not exercising those parts of our brain.
Carr says that turning off your phones and computers for even an hour of your day can really be a big benefit. In San Francisco, I'm Tiffany Russell for Academy of Art University's KART News.
So turn off your devices and live in the moment. The fresh air and unplugging from the media will give your head some clarity.
Governing is no easy task, no matter if you are the President of the United States or the mayor of a city. Jasmine Griffin joins us now with a special specs interview with the former mayor of an East Bay city.
Thank you, guys. I am here with Dean Orr, the former mayor of Orinda. Hello, Dean.
Hi there.
What were some of the difficulties that you had to face as the mayor of Orinda?
Probably not like most cities. We have a limited amount of budget based mostly on property taxes and a constituency, a community who demands a fairly high level of service. And so it's always about how do you spread those dollars out to try to get the most value within your community. That faced with Orinda has a ever-growing infrastructure problem where our roads are continuously deteriorating. We really don't have the state funds to take care of them properly, and so we're continuously trying to figure out new ways to solve that problem.
Mm-hmm. And can you compare those difficulties with some of the difficulties in San Francisco?
Well, a small town like Orinda with only a population of a little over 18,000 compared to a city like San Francisco, I think is really difficult to compare. Although infrastructure problems kind of remain throughout the state of California because it's really underfunded in all municipalities from all levels, state to county to local. So while those struggles are similar, I just think the ways in which the two cities probably deal with them are very different.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about Orlando?
Yeah, so it is a small town in the East Bay, just on the other side of Berkeley, situated between Berkeley and Walnut Creek. It's a town of, as I mentioned, right about 18,000 people. Kind of a semi-rural environment. We have a small downtown, largely based and sort of, developed in the 1950s. The housing stock also, a lot of it sort of came online from that period forward. Mostly, I would say, a bedroom community. Most people who live in Orinda like myself, work elsewhere outside of Orinda. But it's a community that definitely prides itself on civic engagement, volunteerism, and of course our schools.
Okay, and since you said that the population is 18,000 and up, can you imagine yourself being a mayor for a much bigger population like San Francisco?
Oh, no. I mean, I have a normal job during the day. I'm an architect, and so the difference, largely between a municipality like San Francisco and Orinda, while we run campaigns and we're elected officials, it's really a volunteer job. I don't get paid for this job as a mayor or as a council member. I think we all do it because we care about the community and we want to see it grow and prosper. In San Francisco, it's so much more truly based on politics and agendas and those of individuals, and I really quite like my job as an architect. I couldn't imagine doing this as a full-time job.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Dean. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Jasmine and Dean. Facebook is now offering a new feature. Get ready to see your friends and family doing something fun or boring live on your phone. Our Jacob Green has more on the story.
Social media today is a big part of everyday life, and all social media companies want to stay one step ahead of each other. Facebook just launched its new idea to stay ahead of the competition, which is streaming live video you shoot on your phone, so friends and family can see what you're doing as it happens. The feature will function similarly to Periscope and Meerkat, with the main difference being that the live streams of Facebook will not be deleted after 24 hours. Instead, they will be posted to the user's timeline until the user decides to delete it. Alex talks about his thoughts on its new feature.
Be a good idea, no? Mix things up other than pictures, so it's kind of interesting to just surprise someone on the spot with something, birthday, I don't know. I think it's a good idea. Maybe they'll still stick to pictures more, because it's kind of easier per se, but unless the video feature is easy in sense and simple to use, then why not? It kind of one-ups.
Celebrities such as The Rock were first to use live video on Facebook, but the live video option will now be able to be used by its 1.5 billion users. Facebook began testing its live video option with U.S. audience members who use iPhones, and CEO Mark Zuckerberg hopes the new technology will transform video into a more lifelike encounter for users. The live video option could create legal headaches for Facebook and copyright owners based on past experience on Periscope, which people started shooting live video that may be protected by copyright. Eric Luna tells us more about how he uses Facebook.
I use Facebook to keep in contact with old friends, college friends from my community college, and old family friends. I think it's a really good idea. It's just like FaceTime. It's like you could probably move, you could probably go down in the city, be on Facebook, and you could show your parents what you're saying, just in case if you want to have an iPhone, maybe you have a Samsung, and you could show them how to use, like, what you're doing with your life.
In San Francisco, I'm Jacob Green, reporting for Academy of Arts, K-Art News.
The live video is an attempt to bring users closer together, even though they may be located thousands of miles away from each other.
The man who created Star Wars has not used the internet for the last 15 years. Yes, you heard correctly. George Lucas recently revealed in an interview with the Washington Post that he hasn't been online since the year 2000. He wanted to avoid reading nasty comments about himself and his work. His decision came shortly after the release of the heavily critiqued film Star Wars Episode I: The Phantom Menace.
Are you deciding what movie you should see this weekend, or wonder what top movie hit the box office? Well, our very own Shaquille Howard is here to tell you what you need to know about the movies.
The former world heavyweight champion Rocky Balboa serves as a trainer for Adonis Johnson in the new movie Creed, which came out Thanksgiving. I've seen this movie for myself, and yes, it's totally worth your time. This movie gets an A from me. Katniss Everdeen is back, ladies and gentlemen, in The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. To me, this movie wouldn't make the top 5 list, but it was okay, and it gets a solid C from me. Now, I know you guys didn't like the grade I gave this movie, but it was missing a lot of details and stories to it. So I tried and thought real hard on this, but just like the numbers never lie, well, neither do the ratings either. James Bond is back in an all-new Spectra. A cryptic message from Bond past sends him to trail an uncovered and sinister organization. Who doesn't love Bond? Of course, this movie is worth it. This gets a B+ from me. Yes, totally worth your ticket. Well, that's my opinion. Get ready to grab a popcorn and drinks, and I'll see you at the movies.
Thanks, Shaq. Grammy nominations are out in addition to the previews of the Christmas film releases. Wan Yoon joins us here for more in the world of entertainment.
First, let's take a look at the nomination for the 2016 Grammy Awards. Rapper Kendrick Lamar is on top, receiving the most nominations for the Grammy Awards. Lamar's politically charged latest album, To Pimp a Butterfly, earned 11 nominations for the music industry biggest awards. Winners will be announced at the February Gala in Los Angeles. The super surprise should be Taylor Swift, who has the most American Music Awards, and the MTV Video Music Awards. Nomination finally someone knocked her off her snow, but Taylor still received 7 nominations for the 15-18 Grammy Awards. Next, we have some best movie released during this Christmas week. The first movie is The Krampus, directed by Michael Dougherty, based on an ancient legend. It's the oral story of a boy who has a bad Christmas and ends up accidentally summoning a Christmas demon to his family.
He is the shadow of St. Nicholas.
That's not one you are going to want to miss. Also opening Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Trip. This time, the Chipmunks come to believe Dave is planning to propose to his new girlfriend in Miami and gets rid of them afterwards. In an attempt to stop him, they go on 3 days road trip.
You said that in the non-party way, man.
Whoa, buzzkill.
Alvin and the Chipmunk.
From chipmunks to pets, the holiday events of the SPCA help a lot of animals. Let me show you all the service the organization offers to help pets and people this time of year.
In this year, the San Francisco SPCA is not only preparing the adorable holiday tradition display in Macy's, but also they invite Santa Claus and your pets to join this year's Christmas party.
So just yesterday we had an event we call Santa Paws, where Santa comes and you can bring your pets in and take pictures with Santa and dress them up in Christmas sweaters. It's more of a donation event, not an adoption event. So most shelters see more animal abandonment during the holidays. People go on vacation and need to give up their animals. So we really work hard to keep animals in their homes over the holidays. We have a call center where you can call if you have issues keeping your animals, and we try to talk people through those issues and give them resources. So it's more about preventing abandonment, and then through our Holiday Windows event, we up our adoptions. It's one of our biggest months of the year.
In SPCA, there are a lot of homeless animals waiting for people to adopt them and give them a home to live. During this Christmas, it is a perfect time for people to pick a special Christmas gift for the family and a special gift to the innocent animals. The SPCA also has continued the holiday service that the staff of the SPCA will deliver the special gifts to the kids. By the way, it would help more homeless animals to find warm homes.
Hi, we have a special delivery for Luke, Paige, and Jordan. Yay! Is that you guys? Yes!
I was very excited because I really wanted a new cat.
Over the past 10 years, the traditional holiday events have helped the San Francisco SPCA raise over $500,000 and find homes for over 2,500 animals. Also, you can visit the SPCA website to get more information. In San Francisco, I am Wanyu, Academy of Art KART News. That's it for this edition of Entertainment. Join us tomorrow for more.
And finally tonight, thanks to platforms like Etsy and Instagram, it's never been easier to make it as a freelance artist. KART's reporter James O'Malley profiles a local artist doing just that.
Pamela Barron is a professional illustrator who lives and works in a sunny apartment in uptown Oakland. A graduate of the Rhode Island School of Design, she's made a name for herself in the regional art scene with her intricate and whimsical creations. Recently, I caught up with her at her studio and asked how she got her start and what originally attracted her to using watercolors.
When I was at the Rhode Island School of Design, I was lucky enough to get into their study abroad program, and I lived in Rome for about 3 months. And I walked into their art supply store there, and in my very butchered, broken Italian, asked the man what his favorite type of art supply was in his whole store. He gave me some watercolor. It was like a pan of watercolor, and I was kind of hooked ever since that.
The most popular pieces of Pamela's work feature the famous old Victorian homes of the Bay Area, much like the ones here just behind me. I asked her what first attracted her to painting these homes, and why she thinks they resonate so well with so many people.
One of my first jobs when I moved back to California was I was in the Castro, and I was walking 2 dogs, and I walked them 3 times a day. And it was great because I got to see so much of the city, and it was very inspirational. So I started documenting with my phone all the houses that were around me, because I started painting them, and that was kind of the birth of my house series.
In the last few years, Pamela has been able to transition to making her living as a full-time illustrator by selling prints at various galleries and fairs around the Bay Area. But her art has given her much more than just a profession. It's also provided her pride and purpose.
I think one of my favorite things, thanks to Instagram, is when people come up to me at craft fairs and they're fans. They're like Instagram fans, and then I get to meet them in real life, to know that your work is in their house and that they appreciate it and that it resonates with them. That's the best.
In Oakland, I'm James O'Malley for the Academy of Art University's KART News.
Well, that's it for this edition of Academy of Art University's KART News. On behalf of everyone here, thanks for joining us. I'm Din Jemo.
And I'm Alex Walsh. See you back here tomorrow. Have a great evening.